Hello, this is Nick from Breaker Press Games, and this is the Breaker Press update for October 1st, 2022. Alright friends, it is October, and that means two things. It is two of my favorite things, actually. It is Halloween season, and it is also my birthday. My birthday's in 3 days. So what's going on with Breaker Press Games? Well, let's talk about the big thing, and that is partial freedom. So I actually, I've mentioned in previous episodes that I put in notice at my job. My my retirement from retail is not quite complete yet, which is why it's partial freedom. But I have dropped down to 20 hours a week. I still have all of the same responsibilities. I'm still going to be placing the orders. I'm still gonna probably be doing some management duties, but I'm only doing it 20 hours a week. So that's a big change, which means that I will have more time to dedicate to Breaker Press, which is the ultimate goal. That is the dream. So, and then for my birthday, I'm gonna be going to Minneapolis and going and getting a little bit of relaxation and some great vegan food. And that's the magical plan for the next couple of days. But let's talk about what's going on with the Breaker Press as a whole. So the first thing that was accomplished in September, and this was something that was not on the list of things to do. I understand that. I apologize for those that feel slighted that I completed something that was not one of the two Kickstarters, but one of the things that is really kind of important when you're dealing with a writer's block or just, not feeling that inspired or energized or whatever, it's two things. One, sometimes doing a palette cleanser is a big help. Something that is a small little project that gets your brain thinking about something else, so you can kind of like shake the rust off. And then the other thing is doing something, at least for how my brain works, doing something that is easy to accomplish, something that is not like this big overwhelming project, but something small that you can get an easy win. Those easy wins, they make a huge difference when you're trying to get your brain in the right headspace. And I am a person that when I painted miniatures and I painted Space Marines, most people would paint the entire Space Marine at once. A Space Marine usually took me, if I sat down and painted a Space Marine from start to finish, it would take me 8 to 10 hours if it was just a normal Marine. And my brain would start to break as I was working on it. So I started painting my Space Marines piecemeal. I'd be like, all right, I'm going to work on an arm. I'm going to work on a shoulder pad. I'm going to work on, and just do a piece at a time, and so that I could have that moment where I'm like, I've got this arm done. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's just how my brain works, and I need those easy victories. And so, moving on to explain what that easy victory was, it was the Black Balloon, a hunt for Bump in the Dark. So this pamphlet adventure is for the game Bump in the Dark, made by Jex Thomas. And in order to give it any sort of context, you have to know what Bump in the Dark is. So, Bump in the Dark, I was one of the playtesters that was involved in playtesting from January to May, roughly, of this year. And Jex took the idea of Forged in the Dark, so the core system behind Blades in the Dark, Scum and Villainy, Neon Black, and took that rule set and created a Monster of the Week game called Bump in the Dark. And Jex took pieces from multiple different things, different inspirations, and made a really cool game. And so It just so happened that, here's this Monster of the Week game. And back in July, I was walking Ian on a stormy night. Ian is my dog, for clarity. And I was walking Ian on a stormy night, and I had this really weird encounter. And it may have involved a black balloon. I'm going to tell that story in a separate video, but it inspired me, and it had my brain going. And so I was like, I'm going to go for an easy win. And so I created this pamphlet adventure. It went up on itch.io last night. There will be a physical copy made available at some point, probably after Jex releases Bump in the Dark in a physical format. But for now, you can get it on itch.io for $2. Why itch? Because that's where Bump in the Dark is. And so it seemed kind of silly to put the black balloon up on DriveThruRPG if Bump in the Dark is available on itch. So that being said, that means I have a new platform that I can add stuff onto, and will probably do so over time. The long and short, hey, go check out Bump in the Dark. Especially it's Halloween season. You might want a cool thematic game that isn't your usual fantasy content. Bump in the Dark takes place in the 90s, which is kind of an ideal time for anything from Scooby-Doo to X-Files to what have you. And it's a horror-themed game. It's cool. So go check it out. I highly recommend it. It's $10 on itch.io, and go take a look. I'll make sure that the link is in the description. So let's talk about the Kickstarters, because that's really kind of where people are. That's what the content you're looking for if you're watching this video, most likely. You want to know where your Kickstarter stuff is. So the things that were accomplished in the month of September. Number one, I posted up onto the Protectorate of Genuine Kickstarter page. The last update included a link to where things were at with the layout of the book. And if you've looked at it, you know that the book is mostly complete. There are some things that were missing or need to be fixed or what have you. And one of the key areas where there was a big blank spot is on the NPC pages. The way that I set up the NPCs in my other content like this is to have personality, motivations, friendships, affiliations, and then a blurb about the NPC, as well as inside the box underneath the stats, weapon, attack, damage, crit table die, crit die / table, alignment, lucky sign, etc., etc., etc. So I spent a couple of days over the last couple of weeks plugging all that information in and getting all that stuff detailed out. So that was what was accomplished on the Protectorate of Genuine. The other thing was, so we talked about in a previous video that I made these cool cards for the Protectorate of Genuine, but had put the NPC cards in there as a filler in order to use up the 18 cards that are on the sheet. But I couldn't get all of the NPCs into that space. And so I decided that after going back and forth that NPCs, portraits of NPCs, people would want those even if they weren't using those for the Protectorate of Genuine or for my other standard-based content. There are people that just would want these in order to be able to give a likeness to a NPC that they create on the fly. So with that thought in mind, I separated those out into a separate deck, and I actually took the time to take all of the NPC images from the Standard Courier and other Breaker Press content. Jamie Jordan has done like 28 NPC portraits for us so far, and so I just put those all into new cards. And when I get to 32 or 54, I'll probably throw them up on a Kickstarter and just do a small run of cards because they're super cool. But that being said, that means that I still have 5 cards that I need to fill, 4 or 5 cards that I need to fill, and they'll probably end up get filled with monster pictures. So that is that. So that's where things are with the Protectorate of Genuine. I skipped over something that I was going to talk about, and that is my day planner. And so one of the great things about having additional free time is that I actually sat down with my day planner and I set deadlines for things. And so, completing the Protectorate deck and getting the Protectorate layout done and getting all of those pieces set into motion involves actually, having a plan. And so I sat down with my day planner and I set up a plan. So next up, we talked about the deck. We talked about Protectorate of Genuine. I mentioned the day planner. As far as Cleft in the Mangled Hills and Hillside Camp, both of those things are still in process. But I want to get Protectorate of Genuine done first. Now, it is very important to note that, I have put myself onto a certain treadmill of sorts because by reducing my hours at my job and changing my position at my job, it means that I'm going to need to make more money doing game design. That also means that I need to run another Kickstarter probably sooner rather than later. But I can't run another Kickstarter, or at least I refuse to run another Kickstarter until I ship at least one of these 2 Kickstarters out to you. And so, I've kind of lit a fire under my ass with all of this because in order to have one thing get done, I needed more time, and I need the more time in order to make more money. It all is a cycle that needs to happen. And so, all of that being said, you're going to see your stuff faster than if I had not done so. But it also means that you'll probably see a Kickstarter before the end of the year. So let's talk about Patreon. So my Patreon backers, I actually got a message from Chris Zank. Chris has been a longtime supporter of Breaker Press Games, and he sent me a message. He's like, what I would really like for October? I'd really like to see a Halloween-themed adventure, or a horror adventure for DCC, specifically DCC, not for Bump in the Dark. And so I'm like, Chris, it just so happens that, speaking of that day planner, I had actually put in a bunch of notes for something called Tragedy at Woodwitch Rise. And so yesterday I put up a post on Patreon. I took a picture of all the notes that I had scrawled into my day planner at the beginning of September, and all of that information I kind of broke it down in a post. And I am going to the goal is to basically build this product live, or not necessarily live, but people will be able to see the whole process on Patreon of me working through, okay, this is what I want to do with this adventure, these are the ideas that I want to put in there, and then mashing it into something. And the ultimate goal is to write something that is somewhere in the length between a pamphlet and Wide-Eyed Terror, which was 20 pages. I'm really excited about it because I've got some creepy ideas and a good set piece. You can look at all of it on the Patreon. You just got to become a Patreon member. And going back to this idea that I'm going to hopefully pursue game design full time at some point. That Patreon makes that more likely and more possible. And so I really appreciate all the people that have been supporting the Patreon so far. I apologize for those slim months where things got really light due to retail. But the goal is to fix that with the drop in hours. Retail management, it's brutal. Don't do it. So that being said, what else is going on? Well, I became co-host of the Scrivenery on the Goodman Games Twitch. Trevor Stamper invited me to be the co-host with him. I was present for episodes 16 and 18. Yeah, I am now officially the co-host. We just did an episode that didn't air live on the Goodman Games Twitch because there was a scheduling conflict, but we still wanted to record the conversation. We talked to Aaron Creeder, who has a Kickstarter up right now called Cathedral, the Undying. So we recorded that, and then 2 weeks ago we did one on marketing. It's up on YouTube right now. I think it was a really great conversation, and there's a lot of really good information in there. So also check out in between I was camping, and Trevor recorded an episode with James Posnell Jr. And I think that was a really good conversation, so check that out. What else? Gamehole Con is in 3 weeks. So if you're going to be in Madison, Wisconsin, you can come and hang out with me. I will be milling about mostly in the area around the what do they call the area where you sell stuff? I'll be around there. I don't know why the words are escaping me, but I'll be in the sales area most likely most of the time. I am also running 4 events. There are still slots available in 2 of my 4 events, so if you are interested in playing a game with me, I will be there, and I would love to have you at my table. So that information will be in the description as well. And so the last thing I wanted to talk about is just that I backed a lot of really cool Kickstarters lately, and so I wanted to mention them real quick. The Shadows About Hope is a DCC adventure for level 1 or level 2 characters. That's up on Kickstarter right now, and it's going to be up for another 10 days. That's by Mars Press. There is, as I mentioned, Cathedral of the Undying, which is by Aaron Creeder. If you've seen Reckoning of the Gods or Strange Night at the Pint and Pony, he's done a bunch of different adventures, and highly recommend checking out his work. In this particular one, he actually the characters, as they move through the cathedral, progressively become undead. I guess that's not a spoiler because Aaron talked about it at length. It sounds like a cool concept, and I definitely recommend checking that out. My friends at 2OG Games, Michael Spreedeman and Christopher Rick, they mostly release PDFs, and over time they've released 9 PDFs of different things that are available, like Ziggurat of the Mega Maiden and the Sinking of Sicarius. I pronounced that wrong, but I don't know, and I'm not going to look it up. But they have released a bunch of different things, and they are going to print all of them in one blast. And so it's 2OG Games Goes to Print is the name of the Kickstarter, because there's like 10 products that they're going to be printing. So check that out. And then finally, my friend Darren Bolton from Strategies Games in Vancouver. He worked for Games Workshop around the same time that I worked for Games Workshop. And he's got his own miniatures game that he's been working on for a few years now called Close Quarter Battle. It is a modern warfare skirmish game. And so if you're into miniatures, go check it out. I highly recommend, if you're into miniatures and you're into modern warfare, supporting what Darren's got going, at least at the PDF level. Go check those things out. That being said, I'm very excited to have the opportunity to be able to step away from retail management and focus more on Breaker Press Games. You all make this possible. If you want to support Breaker Press Games, you can find our content on DriveThruRPG, on Itch, on the Goodman Games web store, and through the BreakerPressGames.com. Oh no, my throat is itchy. So, that all being said, thank you for supporting indie games and indie game designers. This is Nick from Breaker Press Games, signing off on October 1st, 2022. Talk to you again at the end of the month.